Welcome to the Leadership and Learning Podcast with Dr. JBT, where we dive deep into the art of leadership for emerging and advancing leaders. Whether you're just starting out or looking to sharpen your skills, this podcast is your go-to resource. We'll explore real-world scenarios, actionable solutions, and expert advice with insights drawn from Dr. JBT's own experiences and interviews with seasoned leaders. If you're serious about growing as a leader, you've come to the right place. Welcome back to Leadership and Learning with Dr. JBT. I want to start with something that happened recently that I think a lot of you are going to relate to. A leader reached out to me, and she is managing a solid team. She cares deeply about her people, and she was curious about how to lead through many changes because she has multiple changes hitting her team at once. And she didn't know how to hold her team together through all of it. And maybe you know that feeling. New processes, new structures, new technology, new expectations, all landing at the same time. And your team is starting to show the cracks. So I want to talk about what I told her, because I think it might change the way you think about change leadership entirely. Here's the big idea. Managing change isn't about managing the change. It's about managing the people going through it. Let's dive in. First, let's just acknowledge what's actually happening when a team is hit with multiple changes at once. There is a term for it. It's called change fatigue, and it is real. When it's not one thing, but everything shifting at the same time, people start to shut down. They disengage. Some resist. Some just go quiet. And quiet can often be more dangerous than loud. And here's what I see leaders do in those moments. And I get it, because the instinct makes sense. They focus on the logistics of change, the timelines, the communication plans, the rollout strategy. They work hard to explain the what and the why, assuming that once people understand it, they'll get on board. But here's the problem with that approach. Understanding something and being okay with it are two completely different things. Your team can fully understand why the change is happening and still feel anxious, frustrated, or overwhelmed. Information doesn't move people through change. Feeling heard does. So here's what I told that leader to do, and it's simpler than you might expect. In your weekly team meetings, the ones you probably already have, carve out time to ask one question. What are you feeling about the changes this week? That's it. Just ask. Now, I want to be clear, this doesn't have to take over your whole meeting. Even 10 minutes is enough to shift the dynamic. The point is that you're creating a regular, predictable space where your team knows they can name what's going on for them. And there's actual science behind why this works. There's a concept in neuroscience. We're not going to get into that right now. But it basically says that when we put words to our emotions, it activates the prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of our brain, and literally reduces the emotional charge we're feeling. So when your team members say out loud, "I'm anxious about this," or "I'm exhausted because of this," just the act of naming it starts to release some of that pressure. You're not promising to fix how they feel. You're not telling them they shouldn't feel that way. You're just making space for it to exist. And that simple act of being witnessed makes people feel heard. And people who feel heard are far more willing to keep moving forward. A few things you can say to open that space. Hey, I know we've had a lot of change coming at us. I want to take a few minutes. What's coming up for you this week around all of it? Or even simpler, on a scale of 1 to 10, how are people feeling about where we are? And what's behind that number? I like to use a list of emotions, with the left side of the continuum being more negative emotions, the middle neutral, and the right positive and optimistic. By allowing people to put their emotions on this sliding scale and validating that their emotions will move left to right throughout this change, and that it is okay that they do, helps people name their emotions. Now, hear me when I say this. You are not a therapist. You're not running a feelings workshop. You're just a leader who's paying attention. That matters more than you know. Now, here's the part I really want you to lean into, because this is where it gets interesting. When you create space for your team to name their emotions, something else happens. You start to get information. Their feelings aren't just noise. their data. And if you listen with curiosity, not just empathy, you'll start to hear things that can actually help you lead better. If your team is feeling anxious, that's often a signal that communication has gaps. People are filling in the unknowns with worst-case scenarios. What can you clarify? What can you tell them about what's coming? If they're feeling frustrated, there may be a process problem, something that's making the change harder than it needs to be, something you might actually be able to fix. If they're feeling something that sounds a lot like grief, and believe me, this happens, it means they're losing something they valued. Maybe it's a way of working they loved, a team structure that felt like home. That deserves acknowledgement, not just a quick pivot to the next agenda item. And if you're hearing resistance, before you push back on it, get curious about it. Sometimes resistance is wisdom. Your team is on the ground. They're seeing something you might not be seeing from where you sit. Get curious. The emotions in the room are not obstacles to get past. They are signals worth listening to. Now, I want to address something because I know some of you are thinking it right now. If I open that door, won't it slow everything down? Won't people use it as a reason to resist the change even more? It's a fair question. And the answer, in my experience, is the opposite. Teams move faster through change when they feel heard, not slower. When people feel like their emotions are being pushed aside, they hold on to them. They become a kind of static in the background, humming underneath every meeting, every conversation, every decision. But when there's space to name it, it moves. It doesn't get stuck. Your job as a leader is to hold both things at once. And I want to give you language for that because it matters. It sounds like this. I hear you, and we're moving forward. Here's how I'm going to support you as we do. That's it. Empathy and momentum in the same breath. You're not choosing between caring about your people and getting things done. The best leaders know those are not in conflict. They're actually the same thing. So let me bring it back to that leader who came to me with her question. Here's what I tell her, and here's what I'm telling you. Your team doesn't need you to have all the answers about the changes. They need to know you see them. They need to know that in the middle of everything shifting, their experience matters to you. So here are 3 things you can do starting this week. 1, in your next team meeting, ask the question, what are you feeling about the changes this week? Just ask it. See what happens. 2, listen like a detective, not just a counselor. What are the emotions telling you? What can you learn from them? 3, hold the tension. Empathy and momentum. Both are true. Both are necessary. The changes aren't going away, but neither is your team. Lead the people, and the change will follow. Thank you for listening today. If this episode resonated with you, share it with a leader in your life who needs to hear it. This is Leadership and Learning with Dr. JBT, signing off.